close your eyes and step back more than 700 years to a world of drafty stone cottages, ash scented hearths, and a beauty ideal that has very little to do with being comfortable or even healthy. Tonight, let's wander into the strange and unrelenting world of medieval beauty standards. A world where pale skin wasn't just admired, it was expected, where having a high forehead meant status, and smiling with bad teeth was sometimes the fashionable thing to do. You won't be a noble tonight. You'll be something harder to survive. An ordinary young woman, born into a poor family, trying desperately to be seen as acceptable, or at least not accused of witchcraft for looking too unconventional. Your journey will begin in a cramped, dirt floored hut where your mother tells you to pluck your eyebrows if you ever want to marry. You'll try to bleach your skin with vinegar and chalk. You'll watch older women smear lead across their cheeks in dim candlelight, whispering that pain is just the price of being beautiful. You'll try perfumes made from crushed herbs and deer musk. You'll burn your scalp in the name of fashion and learn how a poorly timed compliment from the wrong man could get you branded as dangerous. So tonight, take a deep breath, dim your lights, let the unsettling standards of the past wash gently over you. You don't need to change anything about yourself. Not tonight. Because as you drift into sleep, we'll explore what it really meant to be beautiful in the Middle Ages. And perhaps along the way, you'll find yourself asking, would you survive it? Waking up ugly. Congratulations, you're alive. That's the good news. The bad news? You've just woken up in the year 1327, and it seems you've done so with entirely the wrong face. Your straw mattress scratches at your arms and back, and the bite of a louse welcomes you before sunlight even touches your cheek. You groan softly, but quickly hush yourself. Your siblings are still asleep beside you, and any movement risks waking the baby. The hut is cold this morning. Not in the way you know cold. This is breath frosting, bone chilling, nose dripping cold. Your only window is a cloth curtain with a tear in the center. Through it comes the pale gray dawn and the sound of pigs snorting outside. You reach for the polished tin dish that serves as your mirror. It's dented and foggy, but the reflection it gives you is enough to spark a sense of dread. Your skin is a bit too dark from working in the garden, your eyebrows too thick, and your forehead not nearly high enough. Your mother notices the second she sees you. She grunts as she hands you a crust of old bread. Pluck them, she mutters. No man wants a girl with furry eyes. You don't have tweezers. You have fingers and a sharp oyster shell. One hair at a time, you try to mimic the noble ladies you've seen from a distance at the feast day. Their brows are arched thin and high, almost surprised at all times. Yours are more skeptical. Outside, the village women are already gathering water from the shared well. You join them, covering your head with a coarse wool scarf. One of the neighbor girls looks you over and toots softly. Too much sun, she says. You'll never pass for clean blood looking like that. You try not to let it sting, but it does. Back home, your mother pulls out her vinegar jar. Hold still, she says, dipping a rag in the bitter liquid and dabbing it along your cheeks and forehead. This'll bleach you lighter by market day. It burns. Not a warm sting, but a seeping, sour ache. You breathe through your nose and try to stay still, but a single tear rolls down the side of your face. You cry too easily, your mother snaps. You'll ruin your chances. The door creaks. Your older sister enters, balancing a sack of leeks and two half rotten apples. Her lips are red today, rubbed with beetroot, perhaps. She looks like a girl in a chapel painting. Chances for what, you wonder? Marriage? A place in a slightly better hut? A moment of affection from a man who might offer bread instead of bruises. You should try this, she says, tossing a wrinkled leaf at you. Rub it on your face. Makes your skin less. She doesn't finish the sentence, but you know exactly what she means. Waking up ugly. Congratulations, you're alive. That's the good news. The bad news? You've just woken up in the year 1327, and it seems you've done so with entirely the wrong face. Your straw mattress scratches at your arms and back, and the bite of a louse welcomes you before sunlight even touches your cheek. You groan softly, but quickly hush yourself. Your siblings are still asleep beside you, and any movement risks waking the baby. The hut is cold this morning. Not in the way you know cold. This is breath frosting, bone chilling, nose dripping cold. Your only window is a cloth curtain with a tear in the center. Through it comes the pale gray dawn and the sound of pigs snorting outside. You reach for the polished tin dish that serves as your mirror. It's dented and foggy, but the reflection it gives you is enough to spark a sense of dread. Your skin is a bit too dark from working in the garden, your eyebrows too thick, and your forehead not nearly high enough. Your mother notices the second she sees you. She grunts as she hands you a crust of old bread. Pluck them, she mutters. No man wants a girl with furry eyes. You don't have tweezers. You have fingers and a sharp oyster shell. One hair at a time, you try to mimic the noble ladies you've seen from a distance at the feast day. Their brows are arched thin and high, almost surprised at all times. Yours are more skeptical. Outside, the village women are already gathering water from the shared well. You join them, covering your head with a coarse wool scarf. One of the neighbor girls looks you over and toots softly. Too much sun, she says. You'll never pass for clean blood looking like that. You try not to let it sting, but it does. Back home, your mother pulls out her vinegar jar. Hold still, she says, dipping a rag in the bitter liquid and dabbing it along your cheeks and forehead. This'll bleach you lighter by market day. It burns. Not a warm sting, but a seeping, sour ache. You breathe through your nose and try to stay still, but a single tear rolls down the side of your face. You cry too easily, your mother snaps. You'll ruin your chances. Chances for what, you wonder? Marriage? A place in a slightly better hut? A moment of affection from a man who might offer bread instead of bruises. The door creaks. Your older sister enters, balancing a sack of leeks and two half rotten apples. Her lips are red today, rubbed with beetroot, perhaps. She looks like a girl in a chapel painting. You should try this, she says, tossing a wrinkled leaf at you. Rub it on your face. Makes your skin less. She doesn't finish the sentence, but you know exactly what she means. That evening, by candlestick light, you kneel on a woven mat and try to prepare your face for the next day. Bits of clay scraped from the riverbank are ground with crushed eggshell. You apply it with trembling fingers, trying not to think about how much cleaner dirt was before it touched your face. And yet, as you lie back down beside your siblings, lice, straw, and all, you catch your faint reflection in the tin dish. Pale streaks, a red stain on your mouth, slightly thinner brows. You almost look right. Pale streaks, a red stain on your mouth, slightly thinner brows. Almost. But you are tired. In your stomach growls. And tomorrow it will start again. Another day of plucking, scrubbing, and bleaching. Another day of being not quite beautiful enough. But maybe, just maybe, if you try harder, they'll stop calling you ugly. And maybe that's worth the pain. The pale ideal, it begins with a whisper. You hear it from behind a market stall, spoken through a mouthful of pickled onions. She's too dark to be taken seriously. You weren't even looking at him. Still, the words cling to you longer than the smell of the fish cart nearby. In the Middle Ages, pale skin isn't just a preference, it's a class distinction, a declaration, a boundary. White skin means you're above the laboring masses, unexposed to sun, untouched by hardship. You're, you were buying turnips, which is inconvenient because you spend your mornings digging up roots and feeding chickens. The sun has tattooed its memory across your cheeks and arms. You are not pale, but you're willing to try. Back in the hut, you gather what your mother calls lightning tools: a chipped ceramic bowl, a rag, a small bundle of chalky white powder, lead carbonate. Yes, lead. They say the noble women use it to paint their faces white as bone. To be pale is to be pure, and to be pure is to be wanted. The pale ideal, it begins with a whisper. She's too dark to be taken seriously. You hear it from behind a market stall, spoken through a mouthful of pickled onions. You weren't even looking at him. You were buying turnips. Still, the words cling to you longer than the smell of the fish cart nearby. In the Middle Ages, pale skin isn't just a preference, it's a class distinction, a declaration, a boundary. White skin means you're above the laboring masses, unexposed to sun, untouched by hardship, you're, which is inconvenient because you spend your mornings digging up roots and feeding chickens. The sun has tattooed its memory across your cheeks and arms. You are not pale, but you're willing to try. Back in the hut, you gather what your mother calls lightning tools: a chipped ceramic bowl, a rag, a small bundle of chalky white powder, lead carbonate. Yes, lead. They say the noble women use it to paint their faces white as bone. To be pale is to be pure, and to be pure is to be wanted. The mixture stings when you dab it on. Your skin pulls tight as it dries. Your lips crack. Your eyes water. But when your sister walks in and sees you, she gasps. You look just like Lady Marin. She claps her hands, delighted. You smile weakly, but something feels wrong. The next day, you venture to the village square. People stare, some with curiosity, others with something like confusion. One older woman leans close and whispers, "You look ill, dear," and she hands you a sprig of lavender. Back at home, you study yourself again in the tin dish. The powder has settled into the lines of your face, making them sharper. Your lips, now pale and cracked, look drained. You don't look like a noblewoman, you look like a ghost. But you persist. You hear rumors of a new concoction, vinegar and egg whites, applied nightly to draw out the darkness. You smear it across your cheeks, wincing as it seeps into old scratches. Sometimes you sit by the fire and press a white cloth to your face to keep the heat close, hoping it'll somehow melt away your freckles. Your cousin visits one afternoon. She's come from the nearby manor to deliver herbs. Her skin is luminous. Her hands are soft. She wears gloves even in summer. She tells you she bathes in milk when she can find it. You laugh. Milk is for drinking, not soaking, but deep down, you wonder if goat's milk would do. Later that week, you hear of a girl who collapsed in the chapel. She'd swallowed crushed chalk every morning for a month. Her lips turned blue. Her mother said she looked lovely in the coffin. Still, the standards don't shift. The paler, the better, even if it means drawing your blood to let the color drain from your face, even if it means hiding from the sun as if it were a sin. And so, you adapt. You start walking to church before sunrise. You cover your face with linen during work. You learn to rub a small mix of flour on your cheeks before company arrives. At night, the cloths soak in vinegar. Your skin smells like salad. But when you see yourself in that flickering mirror, wan, brittle, and unfamiliar, you think, perhaps I'm getting closer. Closer to what, though? Closer to being seen or closer to disappearing? The forehead ritual. You've begun to notice it everywhere. The women in the chapel murals, the noble daughters watching from the manor gate, even the old crone who sells dried nettles near the bridge. Their foreheads, enormous, smooth, glowing. Yours, in contrast, is sadly average, a little too low, a little too furrowed, a little too real. You try to ignore it. Truly, you do. But one afternoon, as you're collecting kindling by the edge of the woods, a boy from the next village leans toward you with a grin. You've got a thinker's forehead, he says, all squished together like a goat. That evening, you gather your courage and a dull knife. You say nothing, you only smile. Then, when he's gone, you throw a stick at a tree and mutter curses beneath your breath. You begin plucking the hair at your hairline, one strand at a time. The pain is sharp. Your skin swells red almost instantly. But the results? Immediate. Your forehead grows with every hair removed. Your sister watches from the corner, eyes wide. You'll make yourself look like a boiled egg, she warns. You ignore her. There are other tools, too. A pumice stone, smuggled from the bathhouse, a rough thread for pulling stray hairs, a dab of goose fat to ease the sting. You spend hours by candlelight, perfecting the arch of your brows, the curve of your hairline. Your fingertips become skilled. You pluck, wipe, inspect, again and again. The forehead ritual. You've begun to notice it everywhere. The women in the chapel murals, the noble daughters watching from the manor gate, even the old crone who sells dried nettles near the bridge. Their foreheads, enormous, smooth, glowing. Yours, in contrast, is sadly average, a little too low, a little too furrowed, a little too real. You try to ignore it. Truly, you do. But one afternoon, as you're collecting kindling by the edge of the woods, a boy from the next village leans toward you with a grin. You've got a thinker's forehead, he says, all squished together like a goat. You say nothing, you only smile. Then, when he's gone, you throw a stick at a tree and mutter curses beneath your breath. That evening, you gather your courage and a dull knife. You begin plucking the hair at your hairline, one strand at a time. The pain is sharp. Your skin swells red almost instantly. But the results? Immediate. Your forehead grows with every hair removed. Your sister watches from the corner, eyes wide. You'll make yourself look like a boiled egg, she warns. You ignore her. There are other tools, too. A pumice stone, smuggled from the bathhouse, a rough thread for pulling stray hairs, a dab of goose fat to ease the sting. You spend hours by candlelight, perfecting the arch of your brows, the curve of your hairline. Your fingertips become skilled. You pluck, wipe, inspect. Again and again. Your mother frowns. You'll catch your death fussing like that. But she doesn't stop you. At church the next morning, you notice one of the miller's daughters glance your way, then glance again. She leans to her sister and whispers something behind her hand. You can't hear it, but the expression isn't mocking. You dare to hope. Later that week, you hear rumors of a new method: burned walnut oil mixed with sheep's urine and ash. Applied to the temples, it dissolves hair at the root. You borrow some from a girl who works in the manor kitchens. It smells atrocious. It works alarmingly well. But after 2 nights of application, your skin begins to peel. Small red blisters form. You hide them under a linen band and claim you've taken a vow of modesty for Lent. It's not entirely a lie. You have made a kind of vow, not religious but desperate. You vow to become a woman people look at and whisper, beautiful, not strange, elegant, not earthy, not invisible. And if that vow requires patience, pain, and ash smeared skin, so be it. One afternoon, an older woman, a widow with silver hair and clouded eyes, approaches you at the market. She places a hand on your arm and says softly, "Don't forget your soul while you're grooming your skin." You blink, then smile politely and move away. But her words follow you home. They settle in your bones. Later that night, as you smooth your forehead with the edge of your nail and stare into the flickering light of a dying candle, you wonder, how much of yourself are you willing to erase just to be seen? The curse of color. It starts with a strand, a single coarse mouse brown thread that refuses to stay tucked beneath your veil. Too dull, your sister says, eyeing your hair critically. Too brown, too muddy. No man writes poems about that. And it sparks a problem you didn't know you had. The curse of color. It starts with a strand, a single coarse mouse brown thread that refuses to stay tucked beneath your veil. And it sparks a problem you didn't know you had. Too dull, your sister says, eyeing your hair critically. Too brown, too muddy. No man writes poems about that. Poems? You laugh. What man in your village can even write? But still, the seed is planted. You begin to look around, and sure enough, the women held in highest regard, at least by whispered gossip and side eyes, share something in common: hair like golden threads, or locks with the coppery shine of ripened wheat. Your hair, by contrast, is serviceable, useful, but certainly not poetic. So you begin to listen, to eavesdrop on the women at the market, to watch the nobles' maids from afar, and to collect recipes, not for food, for hair. The first remedy is simple enough: dried marigold petals, steeped in rainwater and left in the sun for 3 days. You apply it like a rinse, catching the runoff in a cracked jug. It smells earthy and hopeful, but it does nothing. Next, you try lemon juice. It stings when it reaches your scalp. A friend swears by goat's milk and ashes. Another insists on stale beer mixed with lye soap and powdered mustard. You try them all. Everyone. Each mixture makes promises: golden in 7 days, sunlight in your strands, hair like the Virgin Mary. Instead, your scalp itches, your hair stiffens, you begin to smell like a compost heap with religious overtones. Still, you persist. Your aunt, who once worked in the manor house, shares a secret. The noble women sometimes use pigeon droppings mixed with ash and elderflower oil, just a dab at night, she says. So you gather what you need, and in the dim hours before dawn, you press bird droppings into your hairline like penance. Each morning, you rinse your head with cold water from a wooden bucket. Your hands are raw from scrubbing. Your neck aches from leaning over. Eventually, something begins to change. Not dramatically, but under certain light. When the sun strikes your hair just right, there's a shimmer soft, uneven, but undeniable. People notice. A baker's boy calls you honey hair. An old man says you remind him of his wife when she was young. It feels good, like something's working. But then, of course, comes the accident. You try a new mixture when you heard from a traveling cloth seller. It involves crushed alum, lye, and boiled sheep urine. The smell is unbearable. That night, your scalp blisters. By morning, you have scabs behind your ears. You hide them with your shawl, pretending it's a new modesty. When your mother sees it, she doesn't scold you. She only sighs. Even weeds want to be roses. She mutters. That night, as you sit beside the hearth rubbing vinegar onto your scalp with trembling hands, you wonder, when did trying to be beautiful begin to feel like punishing a crime you didn't commit? You stare into the flames, and somewhere between the hiss of the coals and the ache in your scalp, a single question curls in your chest. Was I truly so ugly before? The scent of suffering, the smell hits you first. A blend of sweat, sour milk, and smoke, mingling in the close heat of the marketplace. You wince slightly, trying not to breathe too deeply as you walk past a line of women selling salted fish. Then you catch it. A flicker of something soft. Faint rose water, maybe, or lavender boiled in goat fat. You turn toward it instinctively. It's coming from a tall girl in a pale blue dress, her face powdered white, and her sleeves laced tight at the wrists. Her neck glistens with sweat, but the scent, clean, sweet, almost divine, you want it. Not the girl's dress, or even her face, but that smell, that aura of freshness, that signal that says, I am above the stink of this world. You head home determined. There must be a way. There must be a way. Your mother laughs when you ask. You think we can afford perfume? She gestures toward a sack of spoiled onions. Your scent will be stew, same as the rest of us. But your sister pulls you aside later and reveals a small bundle wrapped in cloth. Dried herbs, lavender, thyme, sage. You boil these in vinegar and rub it behind your ears, she says. Mask the smell, trick the nose. You do it that night. You crush the herbs with the heel of your shoe, boil them with water, and a dash of whatever sour ale is left in the mug. The steam smells sharp, but pleasant. You dab it on, behind your ears, at the base of your neck, even your wrists. For once, you don't recoil from your own scent. Ray, you begin collecting recipes. One calls for rose petals soaked in honey water for 7 nights. Another uses crushed ambergris, though you have no idea what that is, only that it's said to come from the sea and cost more than your family earns in a year. That it's said to come from the sea and cost more than your family earns in a year. You trade a pair of old boots for a sliver of cinnamon bark. You steal a wilted rose from the chapel garden. Every night becomes a ritual. Boil, mash, stir, apply. And in the morning you smell different, not like a noblewoman, but not like cabbage and ash either. At the mill, a boy leans a little closer than necessary as he hands you a bag of flour. You smell nice, he mumbles. Your heart stumbles over itself. But you're not the only one chasing sweetness. One girl in the village tries a new blend of elderflower and rendered pig fat. She breaks out in boils along her jaw. Another burns her skin with too much camphor oil. One swears by garlic rubbed in the armpits to chase away spirit. The spirits leave, but so does anyone standing nearby. There's no soap for most of you, no baths, save for the annual one in spring, and even that's shared. Father first, baby last. You carry nosegays, little bundles of herbs tied in cloth, held close to your mouth and nose when someone particularly pungent walks by. Everyone has them, even the priest. It's not about smelling good, it's about not smelling bad enough to be noticed. One day your mixture backfires. You tried onion skin, lemon peel, and heated goat's fat. It curdled. You smell like someone burned a stew pot and then spilled it on a rug. You spend the rest of the day pretending to have a cold. And that night, as you lie in bed and sniff the crook of your own arm, you sigh. You're not fragrant. You're trying. And somehow that feels like all you ever do. Try, scrub, mask, hope. You close your eyes and think of the girl in blue. You wonder if she also smelled of vinegar and desperation, just covered it better. You hope so. Smile like a saint, but hide your teeth. You haven't smiled in 3 days. Not truly. Not since your cousin laughed and said, "Don't show your teeth like that, you'll scare the hens." You weren't even smiling at her. You were smiling at a joke about the baker's wife slipping on an eel. But now the joke's on you. In the Middle Ages, beauty has a quiet rule book, and somewhere near the top of it, in red ink or maybe pig's blood, is this: keep your mouth shut. Literally. Open mouths are vulgar, too expressive. And teeth are not to be trusted. The noble ladies in tapestries are all portrayed with dainty, pursed lips, soft, silent, closed. You begin to practice it, holding your lips gently together even when amused, laughing through your nose, smiling with your eyes like your sister says the highborn do. But it's hard, because your teeth are there. They're not terrible, a little crooked, a little yellow, but you've never had reason to think they were anything special or anything shameful. Until now, you begin noticing the teeth of others: gaps, brown spots, missing molars. One woman in the village chews with only one side of her mouth. People don't have dentists, they have barbers. And barbers don't pull teeth with gloves and numbing cream. They use tongs and prayers. Your neighbor once had a tooth yanked out by a blacksmith. His lip still droops when he talks. So, instead you try maintenance. Sort of. Your mother hands you a twig dipped in ash and mint. Scrub gently, she says, and swish with vinegar if your gums bleed. They do bleed, frequently. Your sister shares another trick: chew fennel seeds to sweeten your breath. She offers you a small pouch filled with dried herbs and a single clove. Tuck it in your cheek before Mass, she whispers. You do. It helps. Slightly. But no matter what you try, your teeth still feel wrong. It's not white enough, not straight, not dainty. Then you hear something odd: that in some noble circles, blackened teeth are a sign of status, proof that one can afford sugar. Sugar, the forbidden fruit, so rare, so expensive, it's practically alchemy. You've only tasted it once on a wafer during Lent. A lady in the next village reportedly paints her teeth black with soot to mimic the effect. You stare at your reflection that night and wonder, should you try it too? But the next morning you hear she's been bedridden with an infection. You sigh and chew more fennel. Eventually you find your own rhythm. You smile with lips closed. You tilt your head when speaking. You laugh quietly, hand near your face. And one afternoon, a boy from the orchard catches your eye and says, "You've got a saint's smile." You thank him and quickly look away before your teeth show. That night, as you rinse your mouth with bitter herbs, you wonder, how did something as simple as joy become another thing to manage? You smile softly into the candlelight, lips together, teeth hidden, like a proper lady. Mirror, mirror in the mud, the mirror is a lie, but it's the only one you have. A dented plate of polished tin, not quite reflective, not quite honest. It warps your face if you tilt it wrong, smudges your jawline, erases your nose, and still you stare into it each morning, hoping to find progress, hoping to find someone closer to what the world expects. Your fingers trace your forehead, the caked edges of lead powder, the pale streaks along your cheeks where vinegar did its work. You frown, which you immediately regret. Frown lines are dangerous. There's no glass in your home. Glass is for lords and merchants and rich widows with soft fingers. So your reflection is always a guess. You sometimes catch glimpses in puddles, in darkened cooking pots, in the shimmer of still water before the bucket dips. But you've learned not to trust those either. Too many ripples, too much sky. Instead, you rely on feedback, the tilt of your mother's head, the side glance of the baker's wife, the slow smirk of a passing stranger. And it's confusing because some days you feel radiant until someone says, "Are you unwell?" And suddenly you are. Other times you feel invisible until a child tugs your sleeve and says, "You look like a fairy." What are you then? You begin experimenting, turning your face to different angles in candlelight, squinting into the tin until you feel dizzy, practicing expressions gentle, sweet, surprised, mysterious. You spend nearly half an hour one evening trying to raise just one eyebrow. It does not go well. Your sister catches you mid contortion and snorts. "You're going to strain your face off," she says. You glare, which of course deepens your frown line. You hear of a girl in the next village who uses leeches to drain color from her cheeks, makes her look soft, someone whispers, like porcelain. You don't have leeches, but you press a cold stone to your skin before church. It numbs your jaw. One afternoon, you watch a noblewoman descend from a carriage. Her skin is pale and smooth. Her lips are the faintest pink. Her expression never changes. You wonder what she sees in her mirror each morning, or if someone else looks for her and simply tells her what's there. You try not to envy that. One day, the tin warps permanently. You dropped it. It landed edge first on the hearthstone and bent like a smile. You hold it up to your face. You look bizarre, elongated, squashed, beautiful, hideous. You laugh, not because it's funny, because it's absurd. The mirror was never honest, but neither is the world. That night, you sit by the fire and stare into the bubbling pot of stew. Your reflection dances on the surface, warped and watery, but still yours. And in the flicker of the flame, for just a moment, you see someone worth noticing. No powder, no dye, no angle, just you. Beauty by law. You always thought beauty was personal, something between you and the mirror, or the mud puddle, or the whispered compliments of the boy with hay in his hair. But then come the rules, the written ones, the ones backed not by mothers or gossip, but by law. Sumptuary laws, they're called. Laws about clothes, colors, fabrics. Laws that say what beauty is, and more importantly, who gets to wear it. You didn't know a ribbon could be illegal, or that the wrong shade of blue could cost a week's wages. But here you are, stitching your sleeves shorter so they don't look too elegant, hiding a decorative trim under your apron, plucking out a gold thread from a donated shawl because it might be too fine. Your friend Marta wasn't so cautious. She found a pair of scarlet shoes at the edge of the woods, abandoned, barely worn. She wore them to market. Just once. She didn't say much after the magistrate fined her father, but she never wore them again. You learn quickly beauty is permitted, but only in layers, in categories, in ranks. You may wear linen, but not silk. You may wear gray, but not emerald green. Your dress may have sleeves, but not fur cuffs. A noblewoman's gown may trail behind her like a banner. Yours must stop above the ankle to keep you practical, humble. Even hair is regulated. You must cover it fully on feast days. Your veil must be coarse enough to suggest obedience. What does obedience look like in cloth? You're not sure. But you know the penalty for disobedience: a fine, a public scolding, a confiscation, or worse, being marked as improper. Improper women are not asked to dance, or marry, or visit the chapel without whispers following them down the aisle. So you adjust. You become skilled at layering humble things in clever ways. You learn how to dye your laces with beet juice to suggest faded rose. You patch your shoes with scraps from curtain cloth to make them look deliberate. It's an art form, one that no one praises. The village seamstress once said, "A poor girl dressed too well looks like a lie." You didn't argue, but you wondered, why must beauty be rationed like bread? One spring, a merchant's son mistakes you for someone of status. He comments on your elegant shawl. You flush. You stitched it from table scraps and dyed it in onion skin. It took 3 weeks. You thank him and walk away quickly. That night, you remove the shawl from your chest. You fold it carefully, then tuck it beneath the straw mattress. Better safe than find. And as you lie in the dark, you think about all the things beauty could be: wild, joyful, playful. But here, it's a thing to survive. Just like winter, just like plague, just like men. The cost of age. You turn 25 this year, and someone calls you maiden no more. It's meant as a joke, but it lands like a warning. You're not old, not truly, but in the eyes of this world, the bloom has begun to fade. There's no birthday cake, no candles, just a quiet understanding that your value now lies elsewhere, and not in your reflection. You notice the change in the way people look at you, or rather, how they don't. The boys in the square glance past you to younger girls with smoother faces. The baker's wife no longer asks if you've had any suitors lately. The priest skips your eyes during Mass. Your skin has begun to dull, not from dirt, but from years. The rosy flush that once came naturally now needs coaxing, or beet juice. You catch your own reflection in the metal bucket one morning and don't recognize the mouth. Is that line new? That shadow by your eye? Your mother calls them wisdom marks. Your sister calls them trouble. The cost of age. You turned 25 this year, and someone calls you maiden. No more. It's meant as a joke, but it lands like a warning. You're not old, not truly, but in the eyes of this world, the bloom has begun to fade. There's no birthday cake, no candles, just a quiet understanding that your value now lies elsewhere and not in your reflection. You notice the change in the way people look at you, or rather, how they don't. The boys in the square glance past you to younger girls with smoother faces. The baker's wife no longer asks if you've had any suitors lately. The priest skips your eyes during Mass. Your skin has begun to dull, not from dirt, but from years. The rosy flush that once came naturally now needs coaxing, or beet juice. You catch your own reflection in the metal bucket one morning and don't recognize the mouth. Is that line new? That shadow by your eye? Your mother calls them wisdom marks. Your sister calls them trouble. You pull more gray hairs from your temples than you care to count, one by one, like weeds in an unruly garden. Your hands are no longer soft. They're strong, capable, but rough, lined. And lined skin does not inspire poetry. You begin experimenting with new concoctions. Honey masks to soften wrinkles, goat's milk soaked into scraps of cloth to lighten dark spots, a salve made from mashed fig and goose fat for the under eyes. You hear rumors of noble women who smear slugs across their cheeks for a youthful glow. Another says eel oil keeps the face soft if you can bear the smell. You try it once, just once. The eel oil. It lingers for 3 days. Your sister laughs when she catches you. You think you can stop the seasons? You glare, but you keep applying. One day you overhear two younger girls whispering near the well. She's still trying, one says. It's kind of sad. They're talking about you? You walk away without drawing water. You don't want them to see your hands tremble. That evening you visit the healer's hut. She's a woman of indeterminate age, anywhere from 40 to 90. Her face is a roadmap. Her eyes are kind. No, she gives you a paste of mashed chamomile and yarrow, and she says use it if you want, but you know you don't need it. You ask her what she used when she was your age. She grins. Mud and rain, she says, and sleep when the baby allowed it. You laugh, and it feels real. Still, you use the paste, but gently, without desperation, a kindness, not a correction. A few days later, you spot the healer again, this time surrounded by children. They tug her sleeves, rest their heads against her shoulder. No one flinches at her wrinkles. You wonder when beauty stopped being about allure and started being about memory. You remember your mother's hands, calloused, cracked, but the only ones you wanted when you were ill. You remember your grandmother's laugh lines, how they deepened when she told stories by firelight. You sit by the hearth and touch your cheek. There's a crease there now, a small one. It came from smiling. You decide to keep it as a reminder that you lived, that you laughed, that you didn't disappear when the bloom faded. Because maybe aging isn't a loss. Maybe it's just the next face you wear. Chapter 12, Beauty for Sale. The market smells like onions and desperation, And somewhere between the fishmonger's stall and the potter's bench, beauty is being traded. Not openly, of course, not the way you'd sell carrots or wool, but beauty is everywhere. It's folded into pouches of chalk powder, hidden in corked bottles labeled with faded ink, whispers of rose water, softener, complexion cure. You stop by a cart where an old woman sells dried herbs and curiously shaped stones. This one, she says, holding up a grayish lump, keeps the cheeks young. You ask what it is. She smiles. Don't ask questions. You don't. Next to her, a girl no older than 16 is selling jars of cream made from goat tallow and marigold. My grandmother's recipe, she chirps, makes the skin glow. You buy one? It costs more than eggs, but less than shame. At home, you uncap the jar. The smell is unexpected, like wet fur and old stew. Still, you dab it on your cheeks before bed, in hope. The next morning, nothing has changed, except now you smell like wet fur and old stew. You sigh and keep applying. There are sellers who peddle chalk made from burnt bones, lip stain made of crushed beetles, hair dye brewed from elder bark and pig urine. You try it all. Each promise comes with a cost, not always in coin. One cream gives you a rash across your jaw, another makes your eyelids swell for 2 days. You spend one entire feast day squinting like a sleepy cat. But still, you go back, because what if this one works? You begin recognizing others like you, women with slightly too pale cheeks, with hands that smell faintly of vinegar, with smiles that hide discomfort. A silent sisterhood. Some vendors prey on desperation. One man swears his potion will restore maidenly glow in a single night. He says it's made from moonlight and pearl dust. You smell fish guts, but a woman buys it anyway. Her hands tremble as she counts her coins. There's a girl from the manor who sells perfume soaked into scraps of cloth. You save for weeks to buy one. It smells like violets and smoke. You keep it folded in your pocket and press it to your neck when no one's watching. It doesn't make you beautiful, but it makes you feel beautiful. But it makes you feel beautiful, and maybe that's worth something. Then there are the dangerous things. Bleaching powder with mercury, tonics that make you dizzy, things no one admits to using, but everyone seems to know someone who does. One day, you hear of a woman who used belladonna to make her eyes look larger. Her pupils never shrank. They say she wanders the woods now, blind in one eye. You wonder if she still feels beautiful. Back at your hut, you lay out your treasures: a cracked mirror, a tiny comb, a fading cloth that smells faintly of violets, a jar of something that might have once been cream. None of it is magic, but each item holds hope, each one a talisman. And as you press your fingers to your cheek, you wonder how much of beauty is bought and how much is simply believed. The dangerous gaze. You used to want to be looked at. Now you're not so sure. It started with a glance, harmless. A man at the market, older, grizzled, with flour in his beard, watched you as you picked apples. You thought nothing of it. But when he followed you for 2 stalls, then 3, then all the way to the edge of the square, you walked faster. It's not the first time. You're not even wearing your best dress, just a simple one, clean but faded, your hair pinned up in its usual knot. But your skin is pale today. You'd worked hard to achieve that. Lid powder, vinegar cloths, 3 days out of the sun, you're glowing, and it's a problem. There's a strange line here. Too plain, and you're invisible. Too pretty, and you're dangerous. They say that beauty tempts the devil, that too much of it draws attention not just from men, but from suspicion. You've seen it before. A woman with golden hair is called a siren. One with dark eyes is whispered to be a witch. A girl with red cheeks and long lashes, cursed, bewitched, unnatural. There's always a reason, especially when men can't explain their own behavior. You learn to downplay it. You smear ash along your jaw to dull the shine. You cover your hair completely, even when it itches. You avoid eye contact. You walk quickly, purposefully. The girls in your village talk about it in hushed tones. How to be pretty enough to be liked, but not so pretty that someone wants to punish you for it. It's a delicate game. Uh, One girl wore green ribbons in her braid. Just once, the blacksmith's apprentice stared too long. Her father told her never to wear color again. She hasn't. Another girl was too beautiful to be ignored, so they called her unnatural, said she must be using spells. She was dragged before the priest and questioned for hours. No charges, just shame. You watch your own reflection dim, on purpose. Less rouge, fewer smiles, eyes to the ground. You want to be safe. But part of you mourns what you lose, the joy of twirling in candlelight, the thrill of being seen. There's power in beauty, but also danger, the kind that turns admiration into accusation. One day, a visiting friar stops mid-sermon to glare in your direction. The devil wears fair faces, he says, and you feel every eye turn toward you. You are no devil, but they need someone to blame. You spend the next week wearing only gray, and you dull your cheeks with soot. No one follows you that week. No one compliments you. You miss being beautiful, but you're grateful to be left alone. And as you fall asleep that night, you wonder, how did beauty become something you had to hide to stay alive? Chapter 14, The Unseen. It's the grandest feast you've ever seen. A noble wedding held in the hall of Lord Everard's manor. The air smells of roasted swan and cinnamon wine. You're not really invited. You're there to help serve. You and 10 others from the village, all wearing borrowed aprons and forced smiles. Still, you catch glimpses, and what you see both dazzles and disturbs. The bride is breathtaking, or rather, she's been made to be. Her skin is powdered bone white, her hairline pushed back unnaturally high, her lips painted in a soft, perfect red that no fruit has ever produced. Her dress is heavy with embroidery, gilded thread, tiny pearls, stiff panels that hold her posture like scaffolding. She glides when she walks, not from grace, but from necessity. Her shoes are so narrow, she can barely feel the floor beneath them. You wonder how she breathes. A lady in waiting nearby adjusts the bride's veil. You notice her hands are trembling, from nerves or from the powdered arsenic they use to whiten her knuckles. Everyone here is beautiful, but not naturally, not comfortably. One woman has cheeks too pink to be real. Another's eyes are red at the corners, belladonna perhaps. A young girl giggles and you see the raw skin near her temples, freshly plucked hairline. You begin to notice the effort everywhere. The winces as corsets tighten, the subtle grimaces behind painted lips, the constant retouching of cheeks and foreheads with cloths soaked in rose oil and lead dust. No one is resting, they're performing. And the ugliness, it's beneath the surface. You see it in the bruises beneath one girl's eyes, the way she flinches when a man brushes past her. You hear it in the murmurs behind closed fans who's gained weight, who's aged, who's worth discarding now that their beauty has faded. There's a girl sitting alone by the pillar. No one speaks to her. She's lovely but quiet. You hear someone call her dull, pretty, but nothing more, as if beauty should come with entertainment. You serve platters of spiced apples and salted meats. You keep your eyes down, but you absorb it all. You realize that what they call beauty here isn't joy, it's armor, it's burden, it's a mask worn until it cracks. You wonder what happens when it does crack, when the powder runs out, when the corset no longer fits. Does the woman disappear, or does the world simply stop looking? At the end of the night, you help clear the table. You pass the bride's chair. She's gone now, but a smear of red lipstick remains on the goblet. A single eyelash lies on the napkin. You pick it up gently, whisper a wish. Then go back to the kitchen, back to your plain apron, your clean skin, your honest face. You've never felt more free. Chapter 15, Letting Go of the Lie. You wake up late. The sun is already peeking through the curtain. You should be up, working, preparing. But today, you don't. You lie still. Your hands rest on your stomach. Your hair is a tangled nest. There's no powder on your cheeks, no vinegar cloth across your face, no scent of wilted herbs or half-rinsed salve clinging to your skin. Today, for the first time in months, you do nothing to be beautiful, and it feels terrifying, and also relieving. There's a knock at the door. You don't answer right away. When you finally rise, you throw on your plainest dress. It's soft, worn. It doesn't pinch your ribs. It doesn't pretend to be anything it's not. Your sister looks at you and blinks. You're going out like that? You nod. Yes. She stares for a moment, then shrugs. Outside, the air is cool and wet. The dew hasn't burned off yet. Your boots squish softly in the mud. A child waves at you as you pass. You wave back. No one flinches at your bare face. No one gasps at your unplucked brows. No one whispers witch or hag. Mostly, people don't look at you at all. And somehow, that's the kindest thing. You walk to the riverbank, sit on a smooth stone, pull your veil off, let the wind touch your scalp. The water reflects your face, uneven, blurred, but familiar. Yours. You take out the little cloth sachet in your pocket, the one with the violet scent. You'd meant to use it today, to freshen your neckline, to convince the world you were worth noticing. Instead, you crush it in your fist, not out of anger, but closure. The wind carries the scent away. You think about all the hours spent plucking, scrubbing, painting, all the coins spent on useless powders, all the tears you refused to shed in front of mirrors. And you grieve, not because you lost anything, but because you were taught to hate what was already yours. You remember the healer's words. You know you don't need it. You sit there for a long time, letting the silence do what all the perfumes couldn't, letting the breeze touch every inch of your real face. And then, without ceremony, without witness, you decide something. You decide to stop performing. Not every day. You're not foolish. You know the world still watches, still expects. But today, In this quiet corner of the earth, you are enough. You walk back slowly, barefaced, soft footed, free. A woman passing you says, "You look rested," and you smile, truly smile. Not because you tricked the light or masked the shadows, but because for once you're not wearing anything false. You arrive home. Your sister watches you, tilts her head. She doesn't say anything, just nods. And the next morning, you see her combing her hair with a little less urgency. Change happens slowly, quietly, like spring beneath the snow, but it happens. And tonight, when you close your eyes to sleep, your face is clean, your heart is calm, and your soul, for the first time in a long while, feels untouched by lead, soot, or shame. Chapter 16: The Inheritance of Beauty. It begins before you have a name. Before your eyes first open to the smoke-stained beams above your cradle, before you are old enough to understand the difference between a compliment and a command. In your family, beauty is not something discussed. It is assumed, not your possession, but your responsibility. Your mother never says you must be beautiful, but you watch her hands scrubbing, smoothing, pulling tight the corners of her scarf, and in her silence you hear the rule: be pleasant to look at, or be quiet. And when you're 5, she rubs lemon peel on your knuckles to keep them pale. You ask why. She says that's how people know you're clean. When you're 7, she braids your hair so tightly your scalp burns. It shows discipline, she mutters, fingers working fast. When you're 9, she teaches you how to smile without showing teeth. Never grin, she warns. You're not a fool. And when you're 12, she hands you your first cloth pouch of powder. Not expensive, not fancy, just chalk and ash. It softens the skin, she says. You want to ask what it softens it for, but you already know. Her own beauty is worn like a faded ribbon, once bright, now practical. She doesn't flaunt it, but she doesn't forget it either. Beauty is a tool, a relic, a habit. She tells you stories as she boils stew, stories of women who married well, of women who kept their faces smooth and their voices low, of women who were never caught in public with a smudge on their cheek or too much laugh in their throat. She says these things like weather reports, not warnings, not threats, just truths. You try to follow her lessons, but your face is your own. It resists symmetry. Your hair always escapes its braids. Your skin is uneven, rosy here, pale there. You spend hours examining your reflection in pans and puddles, tilting your head, holding your breath, wondering which angle makes you acceptable. Your mother catches you one day. She doesn't scold you. She simply says, "Don't waste too much time wishing," then walks away. She knows the wish will come anyway. When you visit your grandmother's house, you see the older version of the same path. Her face is lined, but carefully so. Her veil is clean, her fingernails trimmed. Even at 60, she rubs lavender on her wrist before bed. She says she does it for herself, but her eyes flick to your grandfather every time she does. You find an old journal in her trunk one day, pages wrinkled, edges curled with time. Inside, lists of recipes, mixtures, ratios. One for onion skin dye to darken lashes, another for egg white masks, one labeled only for jawline sharpness, used sparingly. There's no poetry, no emotion, just careful records. It's not beauty as joy, it's beauty as labor. You begin to understand this isn't vanity, this is inheritance. When your sister begins to reach for the chalk, you hesitate. She's barely 10. You want to stop her, but part of you doesn't, because you remember how it felt, wanting to look right, wanting approval, wanting to control at least one thing, and you don't want her to be left behind. One evening, as you sit beside your mother mending sleeves, you ask her directly, "Did you ever feel beautiful?" She blinks. The needle in her hand stops. She stares at the thread. "No," she says finally, "but I knew how to appear beautiful. That was enough." You don't speak again for a while. Later that night, you take your chalk pouch and empty it onto the ground, just to see the powder blow away. You wake up the next morning and wash your face with plain water. You braid your hair, but loosely. You step outside without a trace of artifice. The wind touches your skin, and you feel seen, not admired, not judged, just witnessed. Your grandmother visits that week. She studies you, then reaches into her basket. She hands you a ribbon, simple blue, unadorned. "This one was mine when I stopped using powder," she says. You nod, tie it in your hair, and say nothing. But she sees. She knows. You're not rejecting your inheritance. You're just rewriting the will. The cost of being seen. You're not supposed to want attention. Not really. Not openly. But what happens when you get it? What happens when every head turns as you walk through the market square? When eyes follow the curve of your shoulders, the hem of your sleeve, the way your mouth moves when you smile? At first, it feels good, like sunlight after a long winter, like proof that all the effort, the chalk, the corsets, the ash, the herbal rinses was worth it. They see you. But soon, you begin to realize being seen is not the same as being safe. You notice how compliments linger too long, how admiration turns into possession, how curiosity becomes entitlement. "How did you get your skin so pale?" someone asks. Not kindly, not gently, just demanding. "You'd be prettier if you smiled. You should show more hair. You should show less." No matter what you do, someone has an opinion. One morning, a man you've never spoken to reaches for your wrist. "You look different today," he says. "Did you change something?" You pull away, politely, softly, because anything else would make you the problem. The next day, your mother notices that you've skipped the powder. "You'll get used to the attention," she says. "It's part of growing up." But it doesn't feel like growing. It feels like shrinking. You begin to plan your routes differently, avoiding the farrier's lane, choosing the long path through the garden wall, wearing darker shawls, keeping your hair up even when the weather is kind. You notice other women doing the same. Avoidance becomes a skill. Silence becomes armor. You overhear two wives whispering by the well. "She draws too much attention," one says. "She's asking for it." You don't even know who they mean, but it could be any of you. One day, a girl from a neighboring village disappears. Her name is Matilda. She was 16. People talk about it for a week. Then they stop. You remember her. She once wore a green veil. Everyone said it made her eyes look brighter. You never wear green again. Your beauty becomes something to hide, to minimize. You don't stop caring, but you start masking. A bit of ash rubbed on the cheeks to tone down the color, an extra layer of veil, a slower walk, eyes to the ground. You hear a friar speak of Eve, how her beauty led Adam astray. She tempted, he says. She was seen, and sin followed. You don't want to tempt anyone. You just wanted to feel proud. Now you feel afraid. Your friends stop talking about what makes them beautiful. They start talking about how not to be noticed. Keep your veil over your ears. Don't walk alone. Stay near the ovens on feast days. The smoke makes your face harder to see. Advice passed down like spells. But then, one night, something changes. A fire breaks out in the barn behind the chapel. You're one of the first to see it. You run, you shout, you grab buckets. You don't think about your appearance. You don't think about your veil. You think about the cow trapped inside, the children nearby, the sparks catching dry thatch. You are loud, messy, heroic. The fire is put out. The cow lives. And for a brief moment, no one sees your beauty. They see your action, your strength, your worth. It doesn't last. The next day, someone says, even with soot on her face, she's lovely. And just like that, the gaze returns. But something inside you has changed. You know now what you're capable of when you're not shrinking. You begin to take back pieces of yourself, small ones, a brighter shawl, a glance that holds instead of looks away, a laugh, full and unhidden. It is dangerous, but it is also powerful. And each time you reclaim your right to be seen on your own terms, you chip away at the lie, the one that said your beauty belonged to them. It never did. Chapter 18. The faces we choose. The mirror is still warped. The candle still flickers. The chalk still crumbles in its pouch. But something is different now. Something in you. You sit at the wooden table in the soft morning light, not with urgency, not with dread, just with presence. The tools are still there, the comb, the cloth, the little jar of cream with its uneven label, but they feel lighter now, less like armor, more like options. You dip your fingers into the cream, not because someone expects you to, but because you like the smell, like the way it softens the wind burn on your cheeks. You dab a hint of rose on your wrists, not for the men in the square, not for your mother, not for God, just because you enjoy the memory it stirs. Your reflection is uneven, a little crooked, but it doesn't matter anymore. You've come to understand something few people say aloud, that beauty, when chosen, is different than beauty imposed. You braid your hair, not tight, loose, relaxed. Soft tendrils escape and tickle your temples. You don't fix them. Your sister enters the room. She's carrying a bowl of figs and a wrinkled tunic. She pauses when she sees you. You look calm, she says. You nod. I feel like myself. It's a new feeling, one you didn't think was possible in this world. Outside, the town wakes slowly. Vendors lift their carts into place. Smoke rises from chimneys. The baker's boy jogs past with ash on his nose. And you step into that world, not as a canvas, not as an offering, but as a whole person. You pass the smith's daughter. She's painted her lashes with soot and lined her lips with crushed berries. She looks radiant. You smile, not because you approve, but because she chose it. You pass a young woman with uncombed hair and a patched cloak. Her eyes are tired, her hands stained. She looks like she just woke from a long night. You smile at her too, because that face is real. There is beauty in both when it's yours to decide. You sit beside the fountain and watch the rippling water. Your reflection stares back, still familiar, but more forgiving now, less judged. You see your mother's nose, your grandmother's chin, the laughter lines you once tried to cover, now stretched gently with every smile. You think of the generations before you, women who shaped their faces to please a world that never thanked them for it, who walked through life as if being seen was a danger. You wonder what it would have meant for them to have this feeling, this small private rebellion, this peace. Later, in the evening, you and your sister sit by candlelight. She's trying to shape her brows. You watch her struggle, then you hand her the oil instead. Soften first, you say. She smiles, and does. The conversation turns to dresses, then weather, then the healer's strange cat, and eventually to beauty. What if I never look like those girls in town? She asks. Her voice is small. You don't answer immediately. You lean back, breathe, then say, what if you already look like you, and that's better? She stares at you, blinks, then nods, and in that moment something shifts. A legacy begins to break, or maybe finally bend in a better direction. We fall asleep that night with your face bare. No ointments, no paint, just skin, breath, a slow, steady heartbeat. And the next morning, when the sun rises over the straw rooftops and birds begin their slow chorus, you rise not as a canvas to be painted, but as a soul already whole. So now, as your eyes grow heavier and the world around you softens, let's take a final breath together. You've walked through a world of lye and lead, vinegar cloths, and crushed beetles. You've watched girls pluck themselves raw just to be seen. You've felt the pinch of fashion, the ache of corsets, the silence behind every forced smile. You've learned that beauty in the Middle Ages wasn't just a desire, it was a duty, a disguise, a survival tactic. It was painted on with dangerous powders, bleached with pain, strangled into place with silk ribbons and shame. And yet, underneath all that effort, behind every puff of perfumed air, every soot stained lip, every tightened shoe, was a person. Someone like you. Someone who just wanted to feel wanted. Someone who looked in a warped tin mirror and tried to believe what they saw. Maybe not so different from today. But now, as you rest your head on a pillow not stuffed with straw or crawling with fleas, you can let that weight fall away. You don't need to be painted or powdered. You don't need to perform. Not here. Not tonight. Tonight, your skin is enough. Your breath is soft. Your reflection needs no correcting. You are not a performance. You are a presence. And as you drift into sleep, may you carry with you the quiet power of being real, the quiet rebellion of letting go. Because while the world may still whisper about beauty, you now know the truth hidden underneath it all. You are always enough. Good night, sweet listener. Rest well, dream freely, and wake tomorrow as no one but yourself.